have to win it. You got two ends of it. There's one, I'd fight in Tijuana and Ruiz's uncle could be the referee and I still whip him. Do you know what I mean? It don't matter to me where it is. There's that aspect. But then there's the other aspect of the British fans that have been riding with me from day one want to see me get them belts back. And I'll never forget in the Olympics when I walked out, I tried to block out the energy in that room. And it was the worst thing because I'm fighting a battle that I couldn't win. So walking out in Cardiff in front of 70, 80, 90,000 people screaming and rooting for you to win, that type of energy that goes through your body is unstoppable. And I think that could give me that little bit of edge I need to win those belts.
Anthony Joshua says he can whoop Andy Ruiz Jr. in Mexico with his uncle refereeing the bout. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. Let's jump right into it. Joshua appears out of the woodwork, and he starts, talking about Andy Ruiz and the rematch, and says some very interesting things. For starters, he started off the interview, and he said that Andy Ruiz doesn't call the shots. He'd love to fight. He's a fighter, so he'll fight anywhere, he says, but he'd love the fight to be in Cardiff, and he doesn't know why Andy Ruiz is doing a lot of talking as if he has the power. And it's basically a two-way street. It's a team effort, and Andy Ruiz doesn't call the shots, right? But then, as you guys see in the title of this video, he says that he goes on as far as to say that he'll fight Andy Ruiz. He can fight him in Tijuana, Mexico, and Andy Ruiz's own uncle could be the referee, and he'll still whoop Andy Ruiz. Followed up with, but I also want to fight in Cardiff. I would love it because I would love the hometown crowd, this, that, and the third. You guys heard it at the beginning. He said he would love it in the UK and Cardiff to, give his people a chance to witness the fight. He said something about when he was a U.S. Olympian and he tried to block out the energy for some reason. And he says it was a bad move to try to block out the energy, so he learned to embrace it. And with that gives him added leverage in the fight, having a hometown crowd and people cheering his name, etc. My thoughts, Joshua, it's confirmed. Joshua is all over the place. Joshua almost sounds bipolar when he does these interviews. First of all, after the loss, Joshua kept showing his face to show he was still all right. He was going to basketball courts in the Village in New York, and I'm playing b-ball, and he was throwing up bricks and air balls and hitting the backboard. Then he was popping a wheelie in Times Square. It looked like he was trying very hard to show the world that he was in good spirits and unfazed and unbothered by the loss, and it looked very contrived. Then he went back home, and he was like relentlessly showing his workouts and stuff. And then over time, his team is negotiating for a Ruiz fight. All that stuff died down. It's hard to explain because he still posts occasionally, but just the totality of it, the energy changed. Like, it looked like a front, and then, like Jay-Z said, only so long fake thugs could pretend. It's like he was trying to show the world that he was okay, and he was like over posting. That's what I call it. He was over posting and like a certain element of videos, but now he's back to posting kind of what I've seen him post. He's not really posting on his Instagram, and he's posting stuff on the Snapchat with family, just regular shit. But before, it was like he was so dedicated to show you that he was training hard, and so, it just looked so forced. Now, Joshua, again, he has to improve his trash talk or whatever you want to call it, because it looks so unbelievable what he's saying. When you listen to what he's saying and try to consume it, it doesn't even sound like. I think that chapter is over. Nobody is believing the talk. So let me break it down. The reason I'm saying this is he starts off by saying that Joshua says that Andy Ruiz doesn't call the shots. It has to be, a team effort, this, that, and the third. And he would love to fight in front of Cardiff, Wales. Then he jumps to, we could fight in Tijuana. He said one thing is, well, we could fight in Tijuana with Andy Ruiz, his uncle being the ref, and I'll still whoop him. Well, that sounds horrible because you didn't whoop him in the first fight, got embarrassed, and if you're willing to fight him in Tijuana, then why are you guys still arguing clearly about location? Why are you, he says, I want it in Mexico or the USA. So if the challenger who lost his belts is going to fight the champion, the new champion, and he's willing to fight in Tijuana and have his Ruiz's uncle be the ref, right? Then why wouldn't you be willing to fight, and why hasn't the fight been announced for the USA at the very least, preferably in Mexico? Lennox Lewis just came out and said the fight, Anthony Joshua should take the fight in Mexico, give the Mexican fans an opportunity to see it, right? So off top, that sounds unbelievable. You're willing to fight him and let his uncle ref, he's putting it on too thick. You're willing to let him fight in Mexico where he wants to fight, where you would have a severe disadvantage, but you can't even agree to where it happened. And then he says right after that he wants to fight in Cardiff because the people, and he owes it to the fans. He did the same thing pretty much with Deontay Wilder, right? Deontay Wilder said, oh my God, the money is in the US. The money's all there. $50 million. I'm so, right? And then Joshua, after asking for $50 million, Joshua then flipped it and says, I'm not going to sell my soul. And why should I fight in America? I owe it to my fans. This, that, and the third. No, that's not what you said. You said, give me $50 million and I'll take the fight tomorrow. And then now you don't want to fight in America for the $50 million plus 50% of the pay-per-view proceeds back in money that you would be entitled to with a major fight. And then later you lose to Andy Ruiz, another Mexican American, and you lose for a lot less money than you would have made in the Wilder fight. So Joshua, at this point, this just looks horrific because he's all over the place. There's no consistency in his word and what he says. Again, if you're willing to fight in Tijuana and you say you'll whoop him even if his uncle is the ref, all right, bet. Fight him in Mexico then. What are we talking about? Or at the very bare bones minimum, fight him in America, even where it happened, New York, fight him in LA then. So Joshua, this is in my opinion, this is backfiring for Joshua because in an effort to look Brody and bold, it draws too many questions, and it's easy to find out that you don't really mean that based on the fact that you don't even want to fight in America, and you're now talking about Cardiff, Wales and shit, right? And owing it to the fans and shit. You want to be in the comfort zone, or your handlers, your bosses, slave room owners, right? Barry and Eddie Hearn told you to talk about this fight in in the UK now. There's been a change of heart, like the TV show. Joshua did a vlog on his Anthony Joshua YouTube channel, and he says, I need to right the wrongs at the scene of the crime in Madison Square Garden. And in that vlog, after saying that, he says, oh yeah, I'll take the fight in America. I want to take it back to where it happened. Now all of a sudden he's saying, oh, I want to fight in Cardiff, Wales. I owe it to the fans. Again, this sounds bipolar. How do you do a vlog on your own Anthony Joshua channel and you say you need to right your wrongs at the scene of the crime, and Eddie Hearn start doing interviews based on your vlog saying, oh yeah, Anthony Joshua, he's crazy. he's willing to fight at Madison Square Garden, and I'm telling him he should fight the UK. You know, so you even have Eddie Hearn who reacted to this interview. The world's seen it, so you can't. There's no way you could. That's what I'm saying. It really this thing that Joshua continues to do, but he's been doing with the double talk. It's a bad look, and it's no longer believable. It's no longer believable. He's talking about it's like you disappeared again and then came out the hole, and now you're saying I'll whoop Joshua. I mean, Joshua's saying I'll whoop Ruiz in Mexico. Really? With his dad as the uncle? Really? But you didn't even whoop him in the first fight. So, you know, the trash talk, it's like even like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor has been, you know, recently he's taken a couple stabs and jabs at Khabib Nurmagomedov, but Nurmagomedov submitted you and dominated you. So it's like it doesn't sound believable. Before y'all fought, you know, oh no, this guy has a chicken jaw, you know, and saying all this stuff. It was at least somewhat believable because we hadn't seen the outcome. Joshua's back to talking about I'll whoop Ruiz in Mexico, but you didn't even whoop him the first time. And he's talking about he wants the hometown crowd, and that gives him a little bit of an edge. You know, he looks spooked as hell in America. This is a weak move, and the double talk is over the place. Like I said, if Joshua really wants to right his wrongs, he'll fight in a non-comfort zone, which would either be the U.S. or Mexico. And it's very concerning that Joshua is saying that Andy Ruiz doesn't hold the whole cards and he doesn't have a say like that. But then Andy Ruiz keeps saying he's not fighting in the UK. And Eddie Hearn is making it sound like they can make it in the UK and they have the ultimate say. So it's going to be interesting to see where this fight finally ends up, because the two sides are saying conflicting things. Andy Ruiz keeps telling TMZ in these interviews, like vehemently, and is very adamant that he's not fighting in the UK. And he's saying it like he has the power to make that a reality. But Team Joshua seems to feel like the fight will or can go to the UK. I believe Eddie Hearn said it's 85% chance that it ends up in the UK. But anyway, nonetheless, back to the topic at hand. Joshua, this is a weak move from Joshua. He fought in America, and then in this interview, he's saying stuff like, "Oh, I had no reason to come to America. I just came, you know. So I did it on your turf. Now come to my turf." What do you mean you had no reason to come to America? Why'd you come to America then? You came to America because you hadn't fought in America, which is where the money's at, and it was to build your profile. You've already done the UK thing. This is Joshua. It's like Joshua has to be babied. You get what I'm saying? Kovalev fought Andre Ward twice on the West Coast and in Vegas. Andre Ward's from California, the neighboring state. You get what I'm saying? He fought Nathan Cleverly in his backyard. He fought against Jean Pascal, who just became a champion and beat and knocked down Marcus Brown 3 times, I think it was. And Kovalev fought Jean Pascal in Canada. But here you have Joshua, who just lost in an embarrassing fashion, and now he's rescinding what he already said about, oh yeah, I need to go to the scene of the crime. And, you know, it just looks fraudulent. It looks fraudulent because now you're backtracking. Andy Ruiz is not backtracking. See, this is why when previously I would make videos about like Wilder and Joshua, this is why I can't trust what Joshua is saying, because him and his team constantly change, switch up, bend, twist, and backtrack. Wilder said the same thing pretty much throughout. He says, I want 50-50, you know, I want to fight Joshua. I want to knock him out. Joshua didn't do that. Joshua said, oh, yeah, I'll fight Wilder when I have the best possible chance to beat him and blah, blah, blah. And then 1 minute he'll say that, and then he'll say, oh, Wilder, I'm going to fuck him up. And it's like, what? You know, he said Wilder can't get in the ring. And then months later, and he's like, oh, meet with me. You know, when you have Andy Ruiz, who would ultimately beat you, you have that looming in the background. So Joshua, this is to me, this continues to be a bad look because he's all over the place. Andy Ruiz, he's kept it G. Andy Ruiz has said, fight me in Mexico, fight me in the USA. That's my preference. That's my choices, and he put a period behind it. Joshua has a run-on sentence full of commas. He's like, oh, yeah, I want to go to the scene of the crime and have a rematch. Rematch me. It's Madison MSG. Rematch me. On the scene of the crime. He's saying all this scene of the crime stuff. And, oh, yeah, I want to fight in America. And then now the people, either his people or he had a second thought. Because he did. See, and this is the part with vlogging and shit. You vlogging like a YouTuber, like you, Jake and Logan Paul and shit. And you vlogging your raw emotions come out, because it's, maybe an honest vlog. And then now, after further consideration, you talking about bring it to Cardiff. Oh, I want to, don't meet with me at MSG. Fight me in Cardiff with my fans. I had no, he keeps coming out like, bro, this is a terrible look. He keep talking about like he came to America for Ruiz and he did him a favor and he did him a solid. So Andy Ruiz needs to repay the favor somehow. Listen, let me just dead that right now. New media style. Andy Ruiz was not even the fucking original opponent. So don't make it look like you came out to America exclusively to fight Andy Ruiz, because the world knows that's bullshit. The whole world knows that you initially, the real reason you were even coming to America was never about Andy Ruiz. It was about Gerald Big Baby Miller. But through his own actions and failed attempts to cheat, that fight got canceled. So you had a struggle fest to nab a opponent that DAZN and Madison Square Garden would approve on short terms, 5-6 weeks. And that's why you ended up fighting Andy Ruiz. Joshua's team must think people are stupid. I really feel like that. They think people are stupid. So he keeps making it sound like he did Andy Ruiz any type of favor. He didn't do Andy Ruiz no type of fucking favor, because Andy Ruiz wasn't even the person who was chosen to get this fight, nor did he have full time to prepare, to train for this fight, and he still beat you. Now he's talking about he'll whoop him in Mexico with his uncle as the ref. It just doesn't sound believable. And again, if you're willing to fight him in Mexico, then America should be no problem. That's where it all went wrong for you, as you stated in your own vlog. Now you're switching it. Now you're saying, oh, I want my people in my crowd. They'll give me a little bit of an edge. So now you need a little bit of an edge. Nobody's trying to go to the UK, especially with what happened with Dillian White, failing the drug test. It was hidden from the opposing team Oscar Rivas, and nobody knew about it. Just the way that whole situation is handled. Ain't nobody trying to go out there. Bob Arum just did an interview, and he said he's worried about Lomachenko going out there for Luke Campbell, and the way the BBBFC and UCAT handled it was atrocious. And I agree. So yeah, there's several reasons. But beyond that, I think Joshua, for himself as a fighter, to ultimately get closure, you already agreed to fight him in America, even though you looked spooked and all that when it came down to it. Right? You agreed to fight him in America to really put these demons to bed and put them to rest. You should at least do it out of your comfort zone, where it happened or in any turf. Joshua's trying to act bold and say like, oh, I'll fight him anywhere. But if you'll fight him anywhere and you'll let his uncle be the ref and fight him in Mexico, then why won't you fight him in the US? Why is it this Mexican standoff about location? Because both fighters agreed to the rematch itself. Why is there this huge standoff where Andy Ruiz is like, I'm not fighting in the UK, and you're trying to pull him to the UK? This could all be, clearly avoided if you're willing to fight him in Mexico. Just make it in Mexico then. And if you don't want it in Mexico, make it in the US where it happened. Why are we even talking about the UK? Why are we talking about the now challenger having a say in it. Again, I think if Joshua really wants to put these demons to rest, then he should fight outside of his comfort zone. He's trying to rely on the UK. The UK, anyway, it's not even about Andy Ruiz being scared. Because if he was scared, the actions of a scared man, he wouldn't have took the fight on 5 weeks notice or whatever. You know, it's just about fairness, you know, the referee, the judge. You know, you got to worry about different things, especially with that BOXINGEGO current Dillian White situation. That would spook a lot of people from wanting to compete. You look at Gabe Rosado beat Martin Murray in the UK, and they said Martin Murray won. You look at how the fight was officiated with Anthony Joshua and Joseph Parker in a unification. They put a inexperienced ref from Italy who had never reffed a title fight in as the referee, and they said he didn't even speak English. He only spoke Italian, so he couldn't deliver the instructions. You know, he just spoke Italian. It's me, Mario. You know, and he wouldn't let Joseph Parker fight on the inside. So, you know, the UK has a bad rap about visiting fighters. So I don't blame Andy Ruiz for not wanting to fight there. You know, but as far as Joshua, we unpacked. Everything he says regarding this sounds bogus because it's not consistent. You know, 1 minute it's like, oh, I want to go back to the scene of the crime. Now he's saying he wants the crowd energy to uplift him and give him an added boost, even though the fans can't fight for you. So it doesn't really sound, bottom line, it doesn't sound like you're as confident in your ability to beat him, but then you're putting it on thick like you're willing to fight him in Mexico, in Tijuana, you know, with his uncle as the ref. If that's the case, then we shouldn't even, why is location even an issue? The fight should have been signed. But we know that's not true, and that's how you can kind of decipher who's being disingenuous versus who's being honest. If he was being truthful, then I don't even see how location at this point would be a factor. Why are you trying to drag him to the UK if you're willing to fight him in Mexico? Makes no sense. We unpack. Let me know what you guys think. We working.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.